Welcome to this town hall, and thank you so much for being here today. I know that many people have video conference fatigue these days, so it's great to have so many of you joining us. My name is John Porter, and I'm the president of Lindenwood University. I'm joined today by members of our leadership team. I'll have them introduce themselves now.
Mark Arant, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs.
Good afternoon, Terry Whittum, Senior Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Engagement.
Good afternoon, Brad Wachler, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics and Campus Recreation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Diane Moore, Vice President for Operations.
Welcome. My name is Deb Ayres, Vice President, Human Resources.
Good afternoon. Cynthia Schroeder, Dean of Health Sciences.
Let me first give you a sense of what I'll be covering today. We're really here to talk about the two most pressing issues in higher education today: our racial equity response and our coronavirus response. We'll start by addressing the steps we're taking immediately to contribute to a more racially just society and assure that all students have an equal chance to succeed at Lindenwood. Then, I'll provide a detailed overview of how Lindenwood will operate this fall. I'm going to try and pack a lot of information into a relatively short time. I want you to leave here with a good sense of what's going on at Lindenwood and how we're going to address the coming challenges. And I want to answer as many of your questions as possible in the next hour. You can use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions prompted by my remarks. I want to begin by addressing the recent protests against police brutality that have occurred in almost every state in the country. It is the unequivocal stance of this university, its board, and its leadership that Black lives matter. Our Black students' lives matter. Our Black faculty and staff's lives matter. The killing of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and other Black individuals at the hands of police is an outrage that has sparked justified protests and calls for reform. And it's clear that we cannot stay silent on this matter. Black Americans deserve a chance to dream, to achieve, to strive, and to learn. They have the right to real experiences and real success. They are no less the focus of Lindenwood's mission than our white students or any other group of students who attend here. As a university, Lindenwood understands the important role that law enforcement officers should play in the communities they serve. But as an institution interested in disruption and continuous improvement, we know that the way things have always been done are not the way things always have to be done. We recognize that the current system must be improved so the good people who want to serve can do good while serving. In order to make the world a more just place for people of color, we must start with our own policies, procedures, and practices. The first step of that process is recognizing where we have fallen short. I have established an Equity and Inclusion Council that has already begun meeting to do that work. I am serving on that committee, along with our Associate Vice President for Student Life and Diversity, Dr. Sean Williamson, and faculty and staff representatives from across the university. Our council's mission is to assess the systems, culture, and climate of the university through an equity lens to develop recommendations that foster a more wholly, inclusive, and equitable culture. Those are fancy words and they sound good, and we mean those words. But let me put it in simpler terms for you, give you the meat behind the message. We have to close the achievement gap for our Black and Hispanic students so they persist and graduate at the same rate as our white and Asian students do. We have to make sure that this university is a welcoming place for all students, a place where they see themselves reflected in the faculty and staff, where their physical, emotional, and intellectual needs are met. We have to assure that our white students know how to be good allies and put that knowledge into practice. Those are the goals in which we will be taking action in the coming weeks and months. I can't claim that Lindenwood has all the answers, or even that we know all the questions yet. Part of improving will be listening more carefully to our students, employees, and community members as we tackle this issue. Today, I'm asking you to help us do this work by providing your ideas, experiences, and suggestions to the Equity and Inclusion Council. You can do that by emailing diversity@lindenwood.edu. I'm also asking you to hold us accountable. Make sure that no matter how many good words you hear us say, there are also good works backing them up. I expect to update you on our initial actions by September 1st. Of course, racial justice is only one of the major issues facing us right now. And I know many of you are here to get details about how the coronavirus and its ongoing disruption of our usual operations will affect our upcoming school year. Today, I'm happy to announce our roaring return. Lindenwood students will return to campus at the beginning of fall semester, which will start as scheduled with classes beginning on August 24th. We understand that many among our students, faculty, and staff find the on-ground college experience to be critical to the development of successful graduates. So we're happy to be able to welcome students back to campus this fall. However, the safety of our community is also paramount. So we will be instituting protocols to keep everyone as safe as possible. As we've developed these protocols, we've taken into consideration best practices recommended by our public health faculty, county and state public health officials, and the CDC, among others. I want to stress that our protocols are still in development, and we will adjust them as dictated by changing circumstances or new information. The Lindenwood campus will reopen to all employees and to visitors on July 15th. All students, faculty, staff, and visitors to campus will be required to wear face coverings over their nose and mouth to prevent the transmission of COVID-19. We know that masks may be uncomfortable or inconvenient, but we also know that Lindenwood is a place where we care for one another, and we would take much more extraordinary measures than following a scientifically proven method for reducing the rate of virus transmission. We will be providing all faculty, staff, and students a reusable, washable face mask upon their return to campus to help support their health, and we ask you to support each other by wearing them. Hand sanitizer will be widely available on campus. All members of our community will be asked to monitor their own health daily, including taking their temperature before arriving on campus or leaving their residence halls. Classes will be offered in a hybrid format so that students can attend some meetings in person and interact with instructors and peers, but also complete some or all of the class from their dorm room or residence. We have asked faculty to design their courses to eliminate any pressure on students to attend class when feeling ill. Students will have the opportunity to complete most classes offered this fall entirely online if that would be best for them. We have invested in cutting-edge camera and microphone units for every single classroom at Lindenwood, so that all meetings can be broadcast to students on campus as they happen and recorded for later reference if some students can't attend. This system will actually increase accessibility for students who are sick, injured, or required to miss class because they're traveling for a university event. For instructors concerned that a mask may impact their ability to teach, and for the students with hearing impairments or watching from home and relying on clear speech for a good learning experience, we are providing movable plexiglass barriers for our instructors in each classroom. Also, there will be increased cleaning and sanitizing efforts on campus, including more frequent cleaning of classrooms and common spaces. Classroom capacities mean that students may not be able to attend all in-person meetings of most classes. Faculty will develop rotations that give all students the opportunity to balance in-person and online attendance. There is a growing body of educational research suggesting that hybrid or blended learning modalities may be most effective for supporting student achievement. Some classes that require in-person attendance, such as lab and studio classes, will have modified protocols that instructors will communicate to students in advance. We anticipate many adjustments to the fall schedule as we determine which courses need to be moved online to accommodate at-risk faculty or need to be offered in different time slots to accommodate space requirements. Every student will be contacted by an academic advisor by August 15th to discuss changes to their individual schedule. Even if no changes are required, students will hear from an advisor. Students may also continue to monitor their course schedule and make changes themselves in their portal if they prefer. At this time, there are minimal changes to housing assignments. Students who have elected to live on campus and registered for a housing assignment should expect that their room assignment and roommates will remain in place. However, in order to encourage distancing, visitation to on-campus residences will be limited. Only one visitor per resident will be allowed, and all visitors must be Lindenwood students. Only residents and necessary personnel will be allowed into dorms and houses. Students with meal plans will still be able to access dining halls as well as Chick-fil-A, Qdoba, and Starbucks on campus. However, in dining halls and throughout our public spaces on campus, indoor seating options will be reduced and spread out to encourage physical distancing. All dining facilities on campus will have grab-and-go capability, and students will be encouraged to avoid eating in large groups in the dining halls whenever possible. Mobile ordering options have been added for Chick-fil-A and Qdoba, with 5 new locations for mobile ordering and new self-service ordering kiosks in the Spelman Center dining hall. I do want to be very frank here. We know that no matter how perfectly we prepare and how diligently we take our temperatures and wash our hands and maintain our 6-foot distances, there is going to come a moment in which we have a confirmed case of the virus on campus. We are planning for many possible scenarios and designing protocols to keep students and employees safe in any scenario. We have set aside housing for quarantining students who report a positive test. Students will also be allowed to quarantine off campus at their homes if they prefer. They may, of course, continue attending class virtually if they feel well enough. Anyone experiencing symptoms is strongly encouraged to remain home. We will partner with St. Charles County to do contact tracing and work diligently to communicate appropriately with our on and off campus populations in case of community spread. The goal of the measures we are putting in place is to allow us to complete the fall semester on campus if at all possible. However, there may come a moment when, for the safety of our students, faculty, and staff, we have to return to fully online learning and complete the semester away from campus. Our campus pandemic preparedness team is currently discussing the exact circumstances that would trigger such a decision. Our instructors have already prepared courses that, in most cases, can be completed fully online or in a hybrid format. So any shift can be more seamlessly, whether it's a single student who needs to quarantine or the entire campus. Most experts expect another spike of the virus in the late fall, coinciding with the onset of flu season. As a result, we are adjusting our academic calendar and will be moving classes online after November 20th, which is the Friday before Thanksgiving. Dorms and dining options will remain open should students wish or need to return to campus after Thanksgiving. But class meetings will occur entirely virtually. We will also be adjusting the date of our commencement ceremonies to November 21st and 22nd, allowing our campus community, friends, and family to celebrate as safely as possible before returning to celebrate the holidays with their home communities. Fall break will be merged with Thanksgiving holiday break. Throughout the semester, we will be asking residential students to reduce their travel away from campus as much as reasonably possible. While we currently anticipate that our student athletes will participate in their fall sports, we do not yet know whether they will compete in front of fans and supporters. As we have throughout this process, we will communicate with public health experts, leaders from our home cities of St. Charles and St. Louis, and our professional organizations such as the NCAA in order to determine a path forward that allows us to fulfill our mission while keeping our Lindenwood family as safe as possible. We are in the process of figuring out how to allow students and others to gather safely on campus, but it is likely that gatherings will be significantly curtailed or more stringently structured than they were last year. The coming semester is going to look very different from any semester before it, and I appreciate you giving me the chance to outline as much as we know right now. Students, faculty, and staff will all be receiving an email outlining key highlights of our decision in the coming days, and our Roaring Return website is live to provide in-depth information. As we make more decisions and finalize return plans, that website will always be the most up-to-date source of information. Let's now move on to the Q&A part of this program. It looks like we have about 35 minutes to answer questions. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can before we wrap up. The first set of questions are questions that were already sent in, and after those questions, we will get to the questions you're giving us real time. So this first question is going to be answered by Cynthia.
Thank you, Dr. Porter. A parent asked, what are plans for social distancing in classrooms and around campus? All classrooms have been evaluated and have a set limit for occupancy that allows students and faculty to observe 6-foot physical distancing. Some classes will be moved to larger classrooms, but the number of available large classrooms is limited. So in most classes, every student that's registered for the section won't be able to attend the class in person every meeting. Our instructors are aware of this and are designing their courses so that they may be completed entirely online or with a mix of online and on-ground engagement. Physical distancing will be observed around campus also in many ways, including plexiglass barriers for employees working at service points, reduced indoor seating, and signage to help remind all of us to observe distancing and to take care of each other.
Thank you, Cynthia. The next set of questions refers to our international students, and I'm going to cover a number of important facts. First of all, for our international students who are still in their home countries, many countries still have travel restrictions. Now, we are tracking those closely, but until those travel restrictions are lifted by your home country, you will not be able to travel to the US. At the same time, many individuals are having difficulty scheduling an appointment to do their visa interview. Again, that's beyond our control. I will tell you that just recently we started to see a little bit of lifting of that restriction, and hopefully within the next few weeks, we'll see more and more individuals being able to get an appointment for their visa. If you can't travel to the US and arrive in August, then you want to remain enrolled in our on-ground campus-based program. And in a few minutes, you'll hear from our provost about our remote hybrid teaching style. You want to be in this program and not change over to our pure online program. The two delivery systems are different, and if you change over to online, we cannot legally provide you with an I-20, and you will also lose all of your institutional financial aid. If you are enrolled in the hybrid classes, and the travel restriction is lifted, say in the mid-semester, you may be able to travel to the US in mid-semester. To do that, you will likely need some additional documents from our OASIS office when you go in for your visa appointment. In all likelihood, we will probably ask you to wait and travel over in January, as we'll be remote in November. This is important. When you do arrive, we will not be asking you to quarantine. So you do not need to come in 2 weeks early. You can come in on the move-in dates with the other new students. For international students currently in the US, you'll return to campus with the other students. And I also want to say that when we go remotely, if we have to go entirely remotely like we did last March, if there's another significant outbreak and the government asks everyone to close down, we will keep on-campus housing and food service available and running so that those students, particularly international students who cannot return home, can stay on campus for the remainder of the semester.
Another student asked, what happens if fall sports are canceled? Obviously, that's the worst case scenario. We are planning for fall sports to be on campus, but it's an ever-changing landscape, of course, and we're tracking those developments as they occur. They seem to be changing every day. If fall sports do not occur, our coaches and our administration will be certain to work with you and ensure, to the best of our ability, a seamless transition to this new reality. You will still maintain your scholarship through the course of the year if you remain enrolled at Lindenwood University.
The next question comes from a parent, and it says, what protocol and procedures have we set up should a student test positive for COVID? Well, for students, we're going to ask them to report either by email or telephone their positive test results to Dr. Sean Williamson, the Associate Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students. At that point, we will ask the student to quarantine, and as President Porter announced, we have put aside special housing for quarantined students. You will remain in that quarantine housing for 14 days or until such time as you have a negative test result or you have a clearance from your physician. Cynthia?
Sorry.
Yeah, so a parent asked, how's the university planning to handle fall events on campus?
the fall events overall?
Yeah. Mhm.
I would say, I apologize. I'm going to go ahead and move that to Brad in regards to the events overall, or Mark.
I can take it from an athletics perspective. We're still working through what the game day environment will look like on campus as it relates to our competitions. So that's on the action agenda right now. We're taking that to our PPT committee on campus to review those guidelines, and we shall have that finalized here in the coming weeks.
And I'll handle for student activity events. We're trying to maintain as close a student experience as we can. We will have some limitations in the number of students who can be in an area at any given time. Much of those limitations will be dictated by the safety protocols given to us by state and federal regulators. We are, for example, making sure, and we are developing both hybrid and in-person recruiting opportunities, for example, for our sororities and fraternities. We will probably not be having a large opening festival like we did last fall during student orientation, but we will have a new student orientation. It will just be broken into smaller groups and will be a variety of in-person and hybrid activities.
Okay, thank you. Brad?
So a parent asked, will student athletes be allowed to live off campus? Right now, there are no plans to modify our current student athlete housing requirements. As there has been in the past, if there is an exception granted, you have to go through the appeal process. But that's the only way to right now to bypass the current student athlete housing requirements.
A student is asked, what will new student move-in look like? It's typically lots of cars and parents crying as their kid goes off to college. But differences we're making this year is we're going to have a staggered move-in. So new students will be moving in between August 17th and August 19th. Returning students will be moving in between the 20th and the 23rd. Starting July 10th, we will mail, the housing office will send you information on the date and time that you can move in. And we're giving you specific date and time so that we can control the number of individuals in each resident hall. The other big difference you'll see is that new students and returning students will be limited to just 2 family members helping them move in. So each family unit will be a group of 3.
We have a student asking about our performing arts programming for the fall semester, such as symphonic band, choir, theater. We're going to be following national advice on this. Choir, for instance, will follow the advice of the American Choral Directors Association. The band will follow the College Band Directors National Association directives. We hope to basically put into place best practices for face-to-face and hybrid instruction as we go through the semester. We'll probably be dividing ensembles into smaller groups, avoid the sharing of instruments, and maintaining social distancing and physical distancing wherever possible. We are going to rely heavily on technology to enable students to learn and practice their parts, such as the sight reading. We're looking at our theater using either recorded or live streamed opportunities to perform in front of a virtual audience. So the faculty in our performing arts programs are dedicated to trying to make sure the students get the best education possible considering the circumstances. So onward and upward from there.
A student asked, how do you see the cafeteria serving all of the students? This is going to be a very, very real difference on the campus. We are following CDC guidelines for the number of students that can actually eat in Spelman cafeteria or in the Evans dining hall. We are creating additional outdoor seating areas. We are going to be utilizing the pavilion, as well as doing mobile ordering services for students where they can mobile order into Spelman for Chick-fil-A, Qdoba, Also Fire and Rice over in Evans Dining, as well as the Wonder Workstation. So a lot of mobile ordering opportunities for students, as well as looking at delivery options. So limited seating inside the cafeterias. We're going to use the lower level student collaboration space in Spelman to create some more. A lot of outdoor seating, a lot of social distancing, obviously, when it comes to the dining halls.
And a lot of grab and go there too, right, Diane?
Everything will be takeout per CDC guidelines.
Yep.
Another student asked, what are we doing in athletics for safety? So our goal is obviously to provide the safest possible environment for our student athletes and the campus community at large. We have developed an athletics COVID-19 action team that is chaired by our head athletic trainer, Kristen Schroeder, and our head team physician, Dr. Matt Matava. They have been charged with developing detailed plans for our return to practice and competition this fall. We are engaged in a phased approach and a reacclimation to physical activity. As Dr. Porter mentioned at the outset, we are certainly looking at best practices, CDC guidelines, NCAA recommendations on return to sport. All of our student athletes will be temperature checked on a daily basis prior to their workouts or their practice. They will also be responsible for completing a daily online form that tracks symptoms. We are implementing physical distancing amongst our student athletes as best as possible. A mask will be required as is protocol with the university. And our staff has also developed a very detailed sanitization process of all facilities and equipment. So we are conducting an athletics town hall meeting on July 6th, this coming Monday at 2 p.m., which will be for our student athletes and for our parents to discuss some further protocols for return to practice and competition.
We have a student that would like information regarding degrees in which there's a lot of experiential learning that would lead to certifications, licensures, what basically is going to occur in science labs, those that are typically not conducive for an online environment. And we are planning experiential learning certifications for every course that requires the face-to-face engagement. No student will be left out of that opportunity. So all of our faculty in those specific areas are designing protocols and guidelines with the CDC and other state and local health officials' guidance in mind as we prepare those experiences. We will ask that students that participate in those responsibilities or those activities take the responsibility of following those guidelines and being sure that we all have a safe and fruitful semester.
The student asked, when will we know when we're allowed to apply for a student employment opportunity for next semester? And all student employee positions will be posted no later than July 24th. I think you'll start seeing some of those coming up probably within the next week or so. So start looking now, but no later than July 24th.
Great. All right. Thank you, team. We're going to go to the live Q&As. I can see here, we've got about 60 questions. We'll be answering these in the order in which they were received, and we won't get to all of them, but hopefully we'll get to most of them. These first two, I think, are for you, Terry. I'll mention the first one. You go to the second one too, but do senior international students have to check in early?
No, senior international students can check in with the rest of the returning students between the 20th and the 23rd, and they'll receive notification of the date and time that they should check in. And then the next question comes from, how is enrollment in dorm housing going for freshmen? My son is registered, but there are not many students to choose from for housing, and the few people he's messaged never returned the message. Is dorm life down? Is there a chance students will get their own suite room as a result? That may help with social distancing. Actually, our freshman enrollment is actually up slightly, and by slightly, less than 5 students over last year. So that number is not down. Where we have seen a small decline is with transfer students, and most transfers don't live on campus. Also, the number of returning students who have signed housing contracts are up over last year. So overall, housing numbers are actually up. If you're having difficulty, if your son's having a hard time finding a roommate, what I would recommend is that you call the housing office on campus and let them assist you in either identifying some potential roommates or some other strategies that your son can use.
Great, thanks, Terry. I'll take this next question, and Deb, you may want to follow up with me on this one. So the question is, how is Lindenwood addressing diversity within the leadership team? Diversity should be a focus throughout each level of the university. I couldn't agree more, and we are addressing at each level of the university. I will say this, that any job posting that goes out, Deb and her team will post the percentage of diversity candidates, the percentage of all the candidates that we have, and we look very closely at our diversity candidates and make sure that through the interview process, we have a diverse set of candidates that are interviewing. So we have that at all levels. I would say there's even a greater focus on that as we speak. But we need to get better at this. There's no doubt about the fact that we need more diverse candidates at the senior leadership level, at our faculty level, and student. We clearly want to grow our student base at that level also. So we've got work to do. I won't say we're even close to being there, but our focus is in the right place. Deb, anything you want to add to that?
I would add, it starts with making it a priority, and Dr. Porter has made that a priority for the entire university. And we have been successful in the last couple of years of increasing our applicant pool, and we'll continue to make every effort in that area, and are always asking for others to help us in doing that. So if you know of candidates who would enjoy working at Kirkwood, would be able to contribute in this way at Lindenwood University, please. Did I just say Kirkwood?
Yes, you did.
Lindenwood University, excuse me. Wow. Lindenwood University, please refer them to Lindenwood Human Resources Department.
I was in the wrong place, Deb, but that's okay.
I just lost 20 years. I don't know what happened.
No problem at all. Hey, Terry, the next one is on international students. Have you covered this, you think? Or?
Yeah, I think I've covered it all. I would suggest that if international students still have questions, they either check the Roaring Return website or feel free to contact OASIS directly.
Great. I think this next question is a loaded question. I'll give this to Diane, but it's what method is being used for cleaning dorm rooms, and how often will they be cleaned? What is the expectation and responsibility of the students for cleaning their dorm rooms in the common areas of each floor?
I'm happy to take that. I will say my opening comments are it takes a village. So it's going to require everyone to pitch in and help with this situation. Obviously, our custodial cleaning company, as well as our custodians, have all been trained. We're all using the disinfectants that are necessary, that are CDC required. Those disinfectant sprays will be available within all of the buildings for employees and staff to be able to utilize and provide to students as well. They will be checked in and checked out. Disinfectant is quite expensive, but we will expect everyone to participate in cleaning rooms as well as in the classrooms. All classrooms will be deep cleaned every single day. As far as the dorm rooms and the common areas, all of the common areas will be covered by custodial staff. The actual rooms in which students live in, we will have an expectation of students to work very hard to keep those clean as well. And they can always work with the residential life staff and operations department if there is an issue that comes about.
Great, thanks, Diane. Hey, Terry, I think the next 4 in a row are you. I'll just let you go after them.
Thank you. Is it possible enough rooms could be available to go from suites of 4 to suites of 2? We actually looked at this in detail, and the answer is no. To do that, we would have to displace well over 1,000 students. And there's just not enough, first of all, it's not fair to those students, and there's not enough availability in the community for them to find at this late date. We have reduced some of the rooms that were 3 down to 2, so that we're looking, and we have a minimum number of square feet for every dorm room that has 2 people in there. The next question is, will students still be moving into dorms? Absolutely. If so, what is the date for upperclassmen? Upperclassmen will move in between the 20th and the 23rd, and they will get a date and time from the housing office. And then can parents visit the students in dorms? Only if the student wants the, no, yes, they can. What we will ask is that you follow our safety protocols, that you have no symptoms, and that if you're in public spaces, you wear a mask. But the parents and the student, it's a family unit, and they can certainly stay together just as they're staying together now living at home. Do international students have to come back early? I'm assuming this question pertains to, do we have to come in to be quarantined? And the answer is no. You can come in, assuming you can travel with the dates that have been provided by OASIS, or if you're a returning student between the 20th and the 23rd.
Okay, this next one, I think Dr. Arant, will commencement attendees be restricted for students and their guests?
Presently, we are planning several ceremonies in the fall to accommodate as many people as possible. At the level of restriction, social distancing at that point is still a bit early to be able to say exactly what will occur, but it's our intention to make certain that as many people as possible can be there for the celebration of this great accomplishment. So we will be communicating those as we go through the fall semester to be sure everyone has the information to make good decisions.
Great. This next couple, I'll take this. Will a copy or recording of this meeting be linked for those who can't attend this call? Absolutely. You'll find this on our website, the Lindenwood website. Next one is I'll start to answer them, Terry, if you want to follow up. How is enrollment and retention expected to change? And I would just tell you this, we're extremely pleased with our numbers. We are only slightly behind where we were a year ago at this time. So we expect a full cast of students, and we're preparing for about as many as we had last year. And so things are going very, very well there. Terry, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, we went into this, like most other universities and colleges, expecting anywhere from a 10 to 15% decline. And I'm in close contact with my colleagues, and a number of schools are experiencing that. As President Porter said, as of today, we're down 33 students from last year, and that can change daily. So we actually expect to come in close to what we were last year, or if we are down, just down 1 or 2 percentage points.
Okay. Will the rec center be open?
So the rec center will be open. It's going to be a phased approach. We're detailing out that plan as we speak. It will be by reservation only. And we are going to limit the capacity within the facility to ensure that obviously we're able to maintain physical distancing and the cleanliness. So there'll be different hours that you'll be able to work out and use the facility, and you'll be able to do so in hour time slots. But that plan's going to be rolled out here again in the coming weeks, but the rec center will be open for students, faculty, and staff.
Great. Dr. Arant, will finals be online? We'll talk a little bit about finals and how that's going to work.
Yes, as the president mentioned earlier, we'll be moving to a completely virtual format after November 20th. So all final examinations and assessment at that point will be online.
Great. Terry, what will moving day look like? Families permitted? I think you covered a little bit of this.
Yep, absolutely. There'll be 2 family members allowed to help the student move in. We will have reduced numbers of families moving in at the same time. We will have all of the information that a student needs on their first day available to them in a packet. In fact, we may just provide those packets on the beds in the room to limit contact with our people. So it will go very smoothly.
Okay. Terry, for you also, if classes will be moving online after November, will housing refunds be given to those who decide not to stay on campus?
The answer to that is no. That we are actually expecting between international students, those students that choose to stay on campus and finish their classes in the hybrid, as well as both fall and winter sports, to have hundreds of students on campus. So for those students that make the choice not to come back for those 3 weeks in November, there will be no refund for housing or meals.
Okay. I think, Dr. Arant, will evening master's courses be able to be held in larger classrooms since there are not many classes held at night?
That is quite possible. Our staff is working diligently to make sure that we've got classrooms that properly contain our courses. with the physical distancing protocols in place. So as the semester draws closer, we'll be able to finalize a lot of those plans, but that is certainly a strong possibility.
Okay, and maybe the next one for you also is August 15th, the date that students will find out which classes are in a hybrid format, which days they will be reporting to class in person.
Hopefully sooner than that. We're trying to get a communication protocol in which you'll have an advisor contact you ahead of time, and we're working with our faculty to encourage them to contact you so you will know in advance which days are going to be reporting to class and which days will be in the hybrid format. So pay very close attention to your communications coming from Lindenwood.
Okay, Terry, when do community advisors move in?
Community advisors will move in on August 10th, and they'll get that notification from the housing office.
All right, next question's for you too. Keep going, Terry.
In light of the pandemic, has the on-campus housing requirement for freshman students and student athletes changed? No, there's been no change to our housing requirements. As has always been the case, new students can apply for a waiver of the housing requirements, but those are all reviewed and a decision are made on individual basis.
Okay, Cynthia, you want this next one? Will students in dorms have access to temp device daily, or will they have to provide their own to take their temperatures daily?
We certainly encourage students to bring their own device with them. However, in the dorms, there will be a temperature area in order for them to do checks every morning before they leave the dorms, as well as prior to entering any of the other buildings on campus. In some of the smaller classes that might be a little bit more hands-on or face-to-face, those individual faculty members will also have a temperature check station for those students before they enter the classroom as well.
Okay, same either for you or Diane. Will COVID testing be available? Is there a cost?
I'll go ahead and let Diane answer that one.
So COVID testing will not be available on campus. However, we worked closely with our St. Charles community partners, including Urgent Care, which is literally right across the street from the campus, who will be ready and willing to provide COVID testing. That COVID testing will either go through insurance or it will be provided free through payment through the state of Missouri. So COVID testing will be available, but it will not be available directly on campus.
And for Cynthia, will students' temperatures be taken before entering classrooms?
And they will definitely be taken prior to entering the building. However, in some of the general classrooms, those faculty will not be responsible for measuring temperatures. Just more specifically for the closer, smaller group classes, those will be.
One additional comment on that, there will be touchless temperature checks in the resident halls, as Cynthia indicated, as well as temperature monitors that are voluntary in each of the academic and administrative buildings, and at the dining halls as well. So there will be a lot of opportunities for both students and employees to have temperature checks throughout the day in multiple locations.
Okay, great. I think Dr. Arant and Brad, you mentioned, here's a question. You mentioned some class times will change. Will student athletes still have first pick on class time so it won't overlap with practice?
So we do have priority registration available for a select group of student athletes that are generally in season sports, as an opportunity, as this question mentions, to avoid practice conflicts. Those will still be available. You'll work with Casey Fennell and her staff in the Student Athlete Academic Services Unit, and she will take care of each individual student's needs.
Great. I don't know, Terry, if this is, or Dr. Arant, what if you have a student that does not do well in online classes? What kind of help is available? I guess Dr. Arant.
We will have an entire campus dedicated to make certain that the student will be successful. I think we need to clarify that the predominant form of delivery on campus is going to be remote learning. It won't be online. So the student will be attending class part of the time face-to-face. The other part of it will be attending synchronously in their dorm room using the OWL technology that we've installed in our coursework. So the preponderance of our courses are going to be delivered in a face-to-face or a hybrid face-to-face format. If a student, though, is struggling, as with any semester in any format whatsoever, please talk with your instructor. We have tutoring, we have support services on campus that are designed to ensure your success. So I would strongly encourage you to take advantage of all those opportunities and don't let the semester get upon you where it becomes too much.
Good, thank you. The next two, I think, Terry, I think we've mentioned these a little bit. It may make sense to just kind of emphasize the move-in dates and who's able to help and not help.
Again, new students will move in between the 17th and the 19th of August, returning students the 20th to the 23rd. And yes, parents are more than welcome to help move their child in. All we ask is that we limit it to 2 as well as the student.
Okay, and we talked about temperature checks. We're asking that temperature checks students will be taken before they depart residence halls, taking their temperature. There's going to be some devices throughout the campus, but we're asking the students to take this on themselves to do that check before they would leave the residence halls or their homes. Let me just keep going down there. What is the status of CA positions?
We still have the CA positions. There are a few positions that we're trying to fill those with students that have certain financial needs, specifically federal work study. But the CA positions still exist, and there are over 100 of them, and they will start on August 10th.
Okay. Next question, if I have a job on campus and my country still has travel restrictions, will I lose my job? Terry or Deb?
Go ahead,
The
Deb.
answer to that is it depends on what the responsibilities of the job is. If we have to fill the position to complete necessary and needed duties at that point in time, we will fill that position. But we always have open student employee positions available. And that student should contact Human Resources if they need some guidance in getting re-established in the applicant pool. We always have plenty of positions available for students to apply.
Great. Brad, is the field house or the Highland Gym going to be open?
Short answer to that question is yes, the facilities will be open. They will obviously be under tight control in terms of what practices look like and access and egress and ingress to the facility. But they both will be open for practice and competition.
Okay, the next question is for you also, Brad. Will student athletes be moving to dorms before all students return?
For some of our select fall sports that are reporting early, that in terms of that are permitted to start practice in August per NCAA regulations, they will be permitted to move in early. Starting right now, I think the earliest move-in date we have right now is August 7th. And then it goes from there.
Okay, great. And Terry, I think you mentioned this again, but new student orientation is?
New student orientation, the formal orientation begins on August 19th. There are a couple of student groups, the first generation group, for example, that will be coming on early on the 17th, and their special part of orientation will begin earlier. But for the general new student population, it begins on the 19th of August.
Okay, we've got time for just a few more questions here. This next one, Dr. Arant, what is the difference between on-ground classes versus online classes?
For the fall semester, our on-ground classes are going to be taught face-to-face to a portion of the class. The remaining portion of the class that is not in the classroom will be attending class through a camera system that we call the OWL system. You'll be able to log in and attend class virtually along with your other classmates. Later on in the week, those populations will switch, and those who are learning by remote will then move into the classroom. So that's what you'll experience in an on-ground course in the fall semester for the most part. Other classes such as laboratory studios, which require a lot of face-to-face interaction, will meet, but with safety protocols in place. Online instruction is where you will never attend class or very rarely attend class face-to-face, and all of your learning and exchange will occur in the virtual format. So those will be the key differences.
Great. Thank you. Hey, Diane, next one, will classrooms be sanitized between classes?
So all classrooms will be deep cleaned once a day, and that will usually happen at the end of the day. Disinfectant sprays will be available throughout the day. Faculty and staff will have access to that for wipe down purposes.
All right, last question here. I know we didn't get to all of them. We got through a lot of them, but this next one is, Terry, you mentioned international students not being able to travel back until travel bans are lifted. If we have a student visa and are able to cross, are we able to come?
Absolutely. If you can, we've had some students that are able to travel to other countries and then come in. This particular question mentions specifically Canada. Canada did close for a while. I don't know if they're open now. But yes, if you can find a way to get here, we would welcome you with open arms.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, panel, for all the answers. And thank you for all the great questions. Hopefully, we've learned a lot. And you're more prepared as you make your plans to come to the university. So thank you for attending this town hall and for participating in our community. I'm going to reiterate again that it is important to us to remain on campus this fall, and we are creating policies and procedures that allow us to do so. However, our most important objectives are to deliver a high-quality educational experience, regardless of modality, and most of all, to keep our community safe. You will be our partners in that venture, whatever form it might take. We will respond appropriately if and when the situation changes, and we hope you'll stay in close touch with us if we can support you as you make your own plans to return. I want to take a moment to thank you publicly for your investment in Lindenwood. Thank you to those of you who have reached out with support during these past few months, especially those who donated to the Lions Relief Fund. Thanks to parents and families who helped their students finish the spring semester strong, or who are encouraging their new college students to undertake this adventure with excitement, even in the midst of the unknowns. We appreciate the students who have provided input on our return plans, who have registered for classes and asked questions and simply persevered. We've missed you since you have been gone and can't wait to have you all back on campus. Thanks for being here with us today. Stay well, and we'll see you soon.